Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. There's something sacred about your walk, something heaven has been watching closely, and now it's time for a divine announcement. You've been tested in ways the world didn't see. You've been stretched in silence, wounded in love, and challenged in your character. But through it all, you chose the heart of Christ again and again. While others got bitter, you stayed broken before God. While others retaliated, you chose to pray. While others ran, you remained faithful. Now the time has come. This next season isn't just a reward, it's a release. Heaven is promoting you not because you're perfect, but because you proved your heart could handle what others couldn't. Let's walk through this together in 7 chapters, so you can fully understand why your Christ-like endurance just activated your next divine elevation. Before we go any further, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just a video, it's a divine announcement, a heavenly confirmation sent directly to the chosen ones who've walked in love when it hurt, who forgave when it cost everything, and who kept their hearts clean when betrayal was easier. If your spirit resonates with this truth, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a prophetic code, a symbol that your Christ-like love did not go unnoticed. It's heaven's way of saying, your test is over, your promotion is here. Not everyone will be able to sit through this. Only those whose hearts stayed pure in a corrupted world will feel the full weight of what's being released. If you're still listening, you've already passed one of the highest spiritual exams, and don't just listen once. Come back, watch it again, because each time a deeper layer will be revealed, another key will be unlocked. Another whisper from God will reach you. This is not entertainment, this is elevation. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You chose love when it wasn't easy. Chosen one, the greatest test you ever faced, wasn't about how much scripture you knew, how high you could climb, or how gifted you were. It was about how much love you could hold while being rejected, overlooked, and wounded. It was about whether you could keep your heart soft in a world that tried to harden it. God watched not just how you handled blessings, but how you handled betrayal. Not how you showed up in front of people, but how you responded behind closed doors when no one was clapping. And what set you apart wasn't just your strength, it was your softness. That's rare, that's sacred, that's what made heaven lean in. You didn't just love the lovable, you loved those who made you cry. You prayed for those who never prayed for you, you covered those who uncovered you. You stood by people who couldn't even stand hearing your name. And you never let their behavior become your character. That was your test. That was your proving ground. You loved when it was lonely. You forgave before the apology. You kept pouring when you were running on empty. You chose light over resentment. You chose grace over ego. And while the world didn't understand it, while even you questioned it, God was writing it all down in your heavenly file, because love like that doesn't go unnoticed. People thought your love was naive. They didn't realize it was prophetic. It was the kind of love that reflects the heart of Christ. Not shallow, not performative, but deep, costly, and transformative. You weren't just reacting to what they did. You were responding to who you were. Because love isn't just what you do, it's who you've become. The heart of Christ isn't proven by how many battles you win. It's shown in how many hearts you refuse to let grow cold, including your own. And you've guarded your heart well, not with walls but with wisdom, not with vengeance, but with virtue. You didn't let what they did to you change what God put inside you. That's what makes you chosen. Your love didn't make you weak, it made you dangerous to darkness. Because darkness can't comprehend that kind of light. Bitterness couldn't cling to you. Resentment couldn't anchor you. And though the pain tried to twist you, it never broke you. Instead, it built you, it refined you, it purified your oil. So now, heaven is responding. This was never just about endurance. It was about promotion. You passed the highest test. You loved like Christ. and now you will reign with him. You didn't just survive, you preserved the frequency of heaven, while walking through a world that wanted to mute it. You loved with tears. You loved with discernment. You loved with boundary. And you loved through betrayal, through silence, through loss. That's why you're about to be honored in a way no man can stop, because the one who saw it all is the one who rewards in full. And remember, real love is spiritual warfare. And you've been on the front lines the whole time. But now comes your moment. Now comes your heavenly promotion. Not because you were perfect, but because you were pure. Not because you were loud, but because you were loyal. The Most High is about to show why choosing love wasn't in vain. Because what you gave in secret is about to be returned in public. Heaven saw what they missed, and heaven never forgets. Chapter 2. Your character didn't crack under pressure. Chosen one, anybody can appear holy when the sun is shining, when the bills are paid, when friends are loyal and nothing is pressing on their mind. But the true test of character isn't seen when things are calm. It's exposed when life gets chaotic, when people misunderstand you, and when you're under pressure that no one else can see. You were tested in the shadows, pushed to your limits, pressed by people who didn't know the weight you were carrying. They poked your old wounds, tried to resurrect your past self, and pulled on the very areas you had surrendered to God. And still, you didn't break. You didn't bite back. You didn't revert to who you used to be, even when it would have been easy to. You were provoked, but you chose peace. You were insulted, but you chose silence. You were misrepresented, but you didn't run to defend your name. You let God fight the battles your flesh wanted to handle. That was strength. That was maturity. That was growth that only heaven could see. And now heaven is about to reward it. Many tried to bait you into pettiness. They wanted to see if the light in you was real or just performance. But every time you chose not to curse them back, every time you chose intercession instead of retaliation, every time you wept in secret instead of reacting in public, you were being elevated in the spirit realm. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Your patience wasn't passivity, it was power. Your calm wasn't denial, it was discipline. Because your anointing demanded a higher response, and you understood something many don't. God doesn't bless performance, he blesses posture. And your posture remained righteous under pressure. You didn't post revenge, you didn't sub your enemies, you didn't clap back when you were lied on. You took it to the secret place instead of the spotlight. And that restraint, that dignity, that integrity, didn't go unnoticed by heaven. God took notes on what others ignored. Chosen one, don't think for one moment that your quiet obedience was wasted. In fact, that's what qualified you. Heaven doesn't promote based on applause or visibility. Heaven promotes based on hidden obedience and secret submission. And you did the right thing when nobody was watching. That's what made you dangerous. While they were loud, you were loyal. While they were attacking, you were ascending. You passed the test that many fail. The test of keeping your character when your emotions wanted to run wild. You didn't just manage your image, you mastered your integrity. That's rare. That's sacred. That's chosen. Pressure reveals what's real. And in the fire, your foundation held. Your crown didn't crack. Your light didn't flicker. And though you cried through it, you never compromised your core. You bent, but you didn't break. You bled, but you didn't bow. And because of that, the elevation you're about to receive won't be temporary. It will be generational. Chosen one, your character is the reason you're being promoted. Your decisions in silence are echoing in heaven. And now God is about to respond, not to your pain but to your posture, not to your complaints but to your consistency. You didn't crack under pressure, and now you're about to be trusted with more power, more influence, and more territory. Because when God sees he can trust your character, he'll increase your calling. And that's what's happening now. Chapter 3. You passed the silent tests that no one knew about. Chosen one. Most people believe that promotion is tied to what's visible, applause, recognition, titles, or trophies. But you know better. Your elevation didn't come from what people saw. It came from the hidden victories you won when no one was watching, when no one was cheering, and when no one even knew you were being tested. You faced trials in the dark, mental battles, emotional storms, spiritual attacks, and you passed every single one in silence. You could have compromised, but you didn't. You could have taken shortcuts, but you chose righteousness. You could have retaliated, but you surrendered your pride to God. These weren't just minor moments, they were divine measurements. And in heaven, they counted more than 1,000 public platforms. You resisted temptation behind closed doors. You deleted things no one told you to. You walked away from people who still had access to your heart. You fasted while you were fatigued. You prayed while your voice trembled. You sowed seeds from empty pockets. You forgave while still bleeding. You honored those who dishonored you. You chose obedience when disobedience would have been easier and even justifiable. These were the tests that no one posted about. No congratulations, no, "We're so proud of you," just you, God, and the pain you couldn't explain. But while man missed it, heaven documented every decision, every private yes, every quiet surrender, every internal war you overcame without a witness, and now the divine verdict has been rendered. You passed. God didn't just observe, he recorded. Every time you chose discipline over indulgence, integrity over attention, purity over popularity, heaven was tallying your growth. Your reward won't come from man, it's coming from the throne of God, because man saw your smile, but God saw the sacrifice behind it. Some thought you were stagnant. They didn't see the elevation happening in your spirit. They couldn't discern the weight you were carrying, but God saw it all. And now what was forged in private is about to manifest in public. Favor is being released, not because of how loud you were, but because of how loyal you stayed. Chosen one, you passed the tests that most people fail, not the ones in the spotlight, but the ones in the shadows. When the warfare was mental and no one knew, you were battling thoughts that could have taken you out. When the temptation was deep and no one knew how hard it was to walk away. When the heartbreak was heavy and you still chose to lift your hands in worship, that's what qualified you. You didn't need a stage. You didn't need an audience. You needed only one thing, God's approval. And now that you have it, the doors that were once locked are about to swing open without warning. Because when you're faithful in secret, God rewards you in the open. The world is about to witness the fruit of what only you and heaven know you went through. The favor you're walking into isn't random, it's a receipt, a divine confirmation that your private pain had a purpose. Chapter 4. You stayed humble when pride knocked on your door. Chosen one. One of the most dangerous spiritual tests is the subtle knock of pride. Not the loud, boastful kind the world notices, but the quiet voice that shows up when you've been overlooked, mistreated, or underestimated. It creeps in when you've been wrongly accused, dishonored, or discarded. Whispering things like, "They don't know who you are," say something and shut them down. Make them regret what they did to you. But instead of answering that door, you turned the other way. You chose silence over spectacle. You chose submission over self-promotion. You didn't expose those who tried to tarnish your name. You didn't throw your weight around. Even though you had the wisdom, the receipts, and the right, you let God write your vindication. And because of that, your name is being honored in the places it was once rejected. The world teaches that elevation comes through exposure and competition. But heaven teaches that true promotion comes through humility. And you lived that truth. You could have made a scene, but you made an altar. You could have blasted them online, but you built a deeper connection with God instead. You didn't let the pressure of being ignored turn into the poison of being prideful. You stayed behind the scenes when your gifts were screaming to be seen. You served people who didn't serve you back. You poured into others while your own cup felt empty. You honored authority even when the authority dishonored you. That's not, ChatGPT said, weakness. That's kingdom-level strength. The kind that only the Spirit of God can develop in someone. Pride tried to seduce you through pain. It said, look at how they treated you. Take your revenge. But humility answered, let God fight my battles. Pride told you, show them what they missed out on. But humility said, if it's from God, I don't need to prove it. I just need to steward it. And time after time, you chose humility, not out of fear, but out of faith. And now, because you stayed low, heaven is lifting you high. Not just in position, but in spiritual authority. Not just in recognition, but in reputation. Your name carries weight in the Spirit, because you didn't chase platforms. You chased purity. You didn't seek a spotlight. You stayed in the secret place. And that secret place is what's about to birth a public shift. The same people who overlooked you are about to witness what humility produced. Not through vengeance, but through vindication. Because when God exalts someone, no system, no enemy, no delay can block it. Chosen one, what's coming to you isn't a reward for performing. It's a reward for remaining humble. While others built empires on ego, you built altars through obedience. While others sought attention, you sought alignment. And now the windows of heaven are opening. Not because you campaigned for it, but because you carried it with character. The truth is, pride could have ruined you, but humility rooted you. And now your roots are so deep that when God lifts you, no wind will shake you. Remember this, in the kingdom of God, the way up is always down. You bowed low in secret. Now God is about to crown you in public. Chapter 5. You blessed others while you were bleeding. Chosen one, what most people will never fully comprehend is the cost behind your kindness, the depth behind your smile, the weight behind your encouragement. They saw you pouring into others, showing up for people, speaking life into rooms, but they never saw the bleeding behind the blessing. You were wounded, but you were still working. You were grieving, but you kept giving. You were depleted, but you kept showing up with a full heart. Many assume strength comes from having it all together, but your real strength was proven when everything was falling apart. You weren't just a light in the darkness, you were a lantern, running low on oil, still willing to burn for others. You were a lighthouse in a storm, guiding others to safety while waves crashed over your own soul. No one saw the late nights you cried after encouraging others all day. No one saw the internal battles you fought while praying over someone else's breakthrough. No one saw the moments you had to encourage yourself between helping others stand. You bled in private, but still poured publicly. And that's the Spirit of Christ. When Jesus was on the cross, bleeding, suffering, betrayed, he still looked down and said, Father, forgive them. He still ministered from the cross. He still gave purpose to pain. And you, chosen one, have done the same. You didn't wait until you were whole to help others heal. You didn't require applause to stay committed. You gave not because you had extra, but because you had love. You didn't withhold your kindness just because life was cruel to you. You didn't become bitter just because others were careless with your heart. You didn't turn away from people in need just because you were also in need. You stayed soft. You stayed surrendered. You kept blessing even when no one blessed you back, and heaven took note. What you were doing was more than being nice. You were operating in divine alignment. You were walking in the footsteps of Christ himself. To love when unloved, to serve while suffering, to give without expecting anything in return. You carried the pain of your own story and still held space for others to write theirs. And now the bleeding season is coming to an end. The sacrificial season is about to shift. You're not stepping into promotion just because you endured, but because you embodied the heart of God through it. Every seed you planted in your season of suffering is about to come back as a supernatural harvest. You didn't just survive, you sowed. You didn't just endure, you empowered. You didn't just make it through, you made others better while you bled. And heaven is not unjust. God is not blind. The pouring you did while empty did not go unnoticed. He saw it, he documented it, and now he is about to repay it. This next promotion isn't just a blessing, it's divine reimbursement, a holy return on every silent sacrifice, a spiritual overflow for every emotional drought. You will eat from the fields you watered in tears. You will be restored in the places you quietly gave away your strength. Chapter 6. You kept your spirit clean when you had every reason to get dirty. Chosen one, there were moments in your life when you were under fire, misunderstood, lied on, and overlooked, and no one would have blamed you for snapping. The pressure on your name could have turned you bitter. The betrayal in your heart could have turned you cold. The disrespect thrown your way could have justified revenge. The world would have applauded your anger. The streets would have cheered if you got even. But you weren't living for the crowd. You were living for the cloud of glory. You chose alignment over attention. You chose obedience over offense. You chose purity over pettiness. While others entertained gossip, you remained silent. While they plotted and posted, you prayed and praised. While they slandered, you surrendered. You didn't clap back, you clapped your hands in worship. You didn't fight dirty, you fought in the spirit. You didn't curse your enemies. You blessed them in secret, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Not because you didn't feel rage, but because you didn't give it rein. There were nights your mind screamed for vengeance, but your heart whispered, stay clean. There were moments you attempted to expose what you knew, but God said, hold your peace. There were seasons when it felt unfair, but the Spirit kept you from folding into flesh. You weren't perfect, but you were intentional. You were disciplined, you were surrendered, and that surrender protected your anointing. That discipline preserved your destiny. That purity secured your promotion. Because purity isn't about pretending you have no struggles, it's about constantly choosing God over gratification. It's about crucifying your flesh daily, even when no one sees it, especially when no one sees it. You repented quickly, you fasted when others feasted, you shut down offense before it had time to take root, you refused to let bitterness take the throne of your heart. Chosen one, you protected your vessel like it was holding oil, because it was, and because you stayed clean in a culture that celebrates dirty moves. God is trusting you with more. Because you didn't let your spirit get infected by what they did, God is releasing what was delayed. Because you didn't lose yourself in retaliation, you preserved yourself for revelation. You didn't just survive warfare, you stayed worthy through it. You didn't just endure pain, you kept your posture pure. You didn't just pass a test. You passed a purity check in the courts of heaven. That's why this next level isn't just a blessing, it's a reward. Not for being flawless, but for being faithful. Not for being famous, but for staying spiritually clean. Heaven has been holding some things on reserve, waiting for this moment. ChatGPT said, waiting for you to prove that your hands would stay open without grabbing what wasn't yours, waiting for you to prove that your heart would remain soft, even when life hardened around you. Now the dam is breaking, now the delay is ending, now the door is opening, because God can trust you, not just with power but with purity. Chapter 7. Now comes the heavenly promotion. Chosen one, what you've endured wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every tear, every misunderstanding, every delay had a divine purpose. You weren't forgotten, you were being forged. You weren't overlooked, you were being observed by heaven. And now the report has been stamped. You're ready. Heaven has seen enough. The proving season is over. The hidden tests, the quiet battles, the silent obedience, all of it was counted as righteousness. You didn't just survive, you passed with honor. While others were chasing platforms, you were building an altar. While they fought for attention, you fought for alignment. And now comes the shift. You're not just being promoted, you're being publicly affirmed by the kingdom. The kind of favor that's about to rest on you can't be explained by resume or reputation. It's divine, it's prophetic, it's God saying to the world, "This is my servant in whom I am well pleased." This is not just about you going higher, it's about God being glorified through your story. Your elevation will be the answer to someone else's doubt. Your breakthrough will preach louder than any sermon. Your life will become evidence that obedience isn't waste. That suffering for righteousness' sake is never in vain, and it won't come through striving. It will come through surrender. You won't need to fight for this. It will find you. This promotion isn't based on connections, branding, or begging. It's based on covenant. Heaven is rewarding you for the moments you could have acted out but chose holiness, for the times you could have retaliated but chose rest, for the seasons you could have compromised but chose character. You're about to see divine compensation in ways that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. The shift will be so swift that it will make people wonder if they missed something, and they did. They missed your tears. They missed your self-denial. They missed your long nights with God, your silent intercessions, your lonely obedience. But heaven missed nothing. Don't be surprised when strange favor starts following you. Don't second-guess it. Don't shrink back when honor knocks at your door. This is not arrogance, it's arrival. You've stepped into your ordained season. The harvest that was prophesied is finally. The oil you carried in private is about to shine in public. The same places where you were rejected will soon call you chosen. The same mouths that mocked you will marvel. The same people who said you were too much, too soft, or too holy, will now watch you be raised by the very God they doubted. You won't have to perform. You won't have to explain. The glory on your life will speak louder than anything you could say, and it will be pure because it came from a pure heart. So walk boldly, chosen one. Walk humbly, but don't dim your light to comfort the ones who never believed in your glow. This is your moment, and it's not because you were perfect, it's because you were faithful.